post.
As promised, we're going to get started. Tony Canas is anxious to speak to you today. I can tell you this one thing that is definitely unique to Tony. He woke up this morning in California, and he intends to sleep in his bed in California tonight. So he has made a big effort to get here today. We're excited to hear what he has to say. Please help me welcome Tony Canas.
Can you guys in the back of the room, can you hear me? No? Okay. Sometimes I am loud enough, so. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah? Everybody can hear me? Okay, awesome. Awesome. So yeah, I wish there wasn't a word for the presenter that came from the furthest away. San Francisco, California, Berkeley to be exact. I didn't want to be away from my territory longer than I needed to. So I actually took the red eye. So I jumped into the plane yesterday at 11 p.m., slept on the plane, and got here about 9 a.m. So I'm running on 4.5 hours of sleep in a plane and on a metric ton of Monster. So this presentation is sponsored by Monster. Now, that does mean that I will probably not be my usual really hyper self, which should actually help you understand when I talk better, which sometimes you think. Okay. So I am very excited to be in Columbus, Ohio. I lived here for about 7 months, not 7 consecutive months, but I'm a former nation. So I'm very excited to be here in Columbus, Ohio for Comic-Con, right? Okay. Thank you over there for the Comic-Con idea. I realized that I looked like an idiot. My suit wasn't the dry cleaners. No, this is my conference wear, and there's a purpose for it. I'll actually talk about it later in the presentation. Oh, and I'm kind of heartbroken. You can't see at the bottom. It says @TonyCanas4. I do want you to tweet about it if you're on Twitter @TonyCanas4, and the conference one is number saying Insurance 360. Anyway, so as you can already tell, this won't be your usual presentation at a formal conference like this. Okay. So relax, have fun. It's very interactive. Feel free to interrupt with questions. We'll try to make it out of here in just an hour. But feel free to interrupt with questions. I might not have an answer for you, but I'll just give it a try. And also, we will be doing live surveying. Okay? So pull out your phone, put it back into service, take it off of airplane mode, and send a text message to 22333. 22333 with my name, Antonio Canas 551. All one word, Antonio Canas 551. For those of you baby boomers, look to the millennial next to you. If needed. Nowadays, most have iPhones and you can do it. But please participate. And millennials, look, poke some baby boomers, and if they're not participating, force them to participate. It'll be fun, and it's only for a little part of the conversation. So, in order to test whether the surveying is working, whether you guys are doing it correctly, let's start with a quick question. What do you think of my outfit today? Okay? So now once you have joined, you don't need to text the name again. You just need to text 22333 with your choice. Either awful, if it's awful. If it's a little out there, text weird. If you care about my ideas, not my outfit, then text ideas. And if you love it, which I know maybe a couple of the millennials will love it, maybe not, then send love it. But this is very important, very important, not only so we know if the survey works, but also so that I can try to talk myself out of the outfit next time. Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of love it. That is nice, that's nice, because normally that's not what comes up in the survey. So that tells me that you guys are a very open-minded audience, and that's very exciting. That's very exciting, because the purpose of today, one of the purposes of today, one of the purposes of today is for the young audience members, say those millennials under about 32 or so to leave here saying, oh my God, I made the best decision ever. This industry is amazing, and I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. And for the more mature members of the crowd to leave here going, oh my God, we have a problem. You need to do something about this problem, right? If I fail on either side, let me know, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. I already lost one bet earlier today. So anyway, please keep participating as we continue. The other questions are actually more important than this test question. Okay, so question number 2. And if anyone is confused, please ask. Question number 2. Which generation are you a member of? And again, it's anonymous. If you are a traditionalist, born between 1922 and 1945, text traditional. If you're a baby boomer, born between 1946 and 1964, text boomer. If you're a Gen Xer, text X. If you're a millennial, text Y. And if you were born after the year 2000, I am very, very, very proud of you for being here. There's no option for you, but I will give you my card. I will mentor you. You're going to have a great career because you're getting started early. Good for you. Okay. So, let's give that one a little bit. There's a couple of things that I want to point out from this chart. Pay attention to the years, especially the boomers. Okay? The boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. And there's one really, really interesting thing about those years. Last year, 2014, the very last baby boomer turned 50. Okay? So, happy 50. Okay? What that means for our industry is very important for you to understand. Because I've seen several different numbers, but the one that I'm seeing lately is by Pete Miller, the president of the Institute, has been quoting a study lately that says that 43% of our workforce in this industry will retire in the next 3 years. 43%. 43%. Right? So if there's 4 of you in a table, randomly chosen, close to 2 of you will retire in the next 10 years. Okay? So we have a true demographic crisis coming. And it's here. We're about to see the effects of it, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay? Okay, question number 3. How long have you been in this industry? Are you a rookie? Have you been here for a little bit? A veteran or an expert? I myself, I'm now in the middle category. This is my 6th year in the industry. Last time I presented this, I was still a rookie. What I have seen, and we'll see what the survey shows today, but what I have seen is we have a very, 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 very tenured industry. We have lots and lots of people, lots of boomers, who have been in the same industry for 30, 35 years, a lot of them in the same company for 30, 35 years. I talked to some people earlier today, 35 years in the same company. So that is the reality of our industry today, and that's awesome. But what we need to understand is that the next generation that is coming into our industry is very unlikely to have that kind of tenure. We might be able to keep them in the industry for that long. In the same company, very, very unlikely. Okay? And you'll notice that I talk a lot about boomers and millennials. And Gen Xers not so much. First of all, it's not my expertise. Number 2, demographically, there were 80 million baby boomers. There's only 60 million Gen Xers. And there's 80 million millennials. So the working world we live in today was designed, HR was designed, talent management was designed for the boomers, and it never changed for the Gen Xers. And now we have this giant new generation coming in that is going to require a little bit of being treated a little bit different. And I'm glad that it does show that we have a very, very, very tenured. And by the way, thank you so much for your long years of service. The main reason you are here today is so I can let you know that you cannot retire. we are not ready to lose you. Okay? We need your knowledge to transfer to the next generation. I will give you towards the end a bunch of solutions on how we can do this, and I will tell you what you need to do, and we'll give you your right to retire back. Okay, one more. How much longer are you expecting to work? If you're expecting to retire in the next 0 to 5 years, text golf. If you're expecting to retire in the next 6 to 10, text few. If you are retired in the next 11 to 15, text lots. And if you're one of my younger kids, like myself, you expect to work for 60 or more years, text long. Okay? So, given that our industry is a little over 50% baby boomers, it looks like we have a lot of baby boomers in the audience who are working into their 90s. Thank you. Thank you. When I told you you couldn't retire, I really appreciate that you listened. It just kind of shows you that the survey, the millennials are voting more because it's our nature, right? It's just what we do. But it's kind of a fun feature of the presentation. And I might have closed it. Okay, I think I closed it. So those were the most important ones anyway. Okay. So thank you for participating in the survey. There'll be one more at the end. I need you to remember two things. Okay? Two things. Take away two things and you go to more. Okay? Two things. Okay. The millennials, boomers, you raised us. Okay? Statistically, our parents are boomers who had a different philosophy about child rearing. My parents wanted me to have it better than they did, right? So this is how we got to be a little spoiled, the way we are today. And the second thing you need to remember is that your own kids are driving some other industry insane. So we've done it to ourselves. So keep that in mind. Okay, we did the generation survey. Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay. I accidentally closed it, so I won't do it today. When I did this presentation at the 2014 CPC Society annual meeting in Anaheim last year, full room. They had to bring in extra chairs. It was quite an amazing experience for me. One of the questions I had is, millennials only, in one word, what did you think about the insurance industry before somebody approached you and pulled you in, right? These are the results that came in. Life, right? Life. This is probably why I didn't get invited to my session again. At least not yet. Okay. So, needless to say, and this came from kids who were at the meeting, right? These people are working in insurance now. They're CPCUs, or they're working with their CPCUs. They like the industry. If I had asked this in a random group of high schoolers or college students, it would have been a lot worse. So, the point is, and this has been well documented, kids think that our industry is boring. My beautiful over. Kids think that our industry is boring, which, am I halfway there? Yeah, okay. Which we know isn't true. Is it recording?
Are you interested in your head?
No, not particularly. It's fine. It's fine. No head is fine. Okay. So we know that this isn't true. We know that this industry isn't boring. But the perception out there among kids today is that it is. That's something we're going to have to deal with that. Okay? Captain.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Did you ask them what they thought of the industry in one word after they worked there?
No, I did not. I did not. I'll add that to my next one. Thank you. Thank you. There's a story that I like. Have you ever went to one of your millennial employees and talked to them, and at the end of the conversation, it was clear that they had no idea what you were trying to communicate, right? So you do the natural thing. You pick up a piece of paper, write them a memo in cursive, and you leave it at their desk, right? We weren't taught cursive. I'm 32, and I do read cursive. Kids a few years younger than me were never taught cursive, right? So the millennial gets the note, has no idea what it says, right? They look for somebody in the middle, for a Gen Xer. I'm glad that we do have some, and gets it translated, right? And then he's a professional, he wants to reply to his boss. So he sends him a text message, which he might not receive, right? So that is the problem that we have. That is the core of the problem. It's a communication style issue. It is very similar to, I thought the slide was up. Okay, it's a communication style. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Okay. Boomers, when you were born, chances are you went home in a car, in a parent's arms, right? In the front seat. And this car probably had a metal bumper, no seat belts, no airbags, right? Okay? Oh, excuse me, I missed one. And if your parents really loved you, if they really loved you, then they rolled down the window while they smoked. People remember stories, not numbers, right? I want you to remember, those millennials that are driving you crazy, they grew up in a different world. That's the main thing that I want you to remember. Okay. Things have changed, right? This is kind of what my childhood looked like, right? When I was 10, I asked for a skateboard, and my mom's a doctor, and very overprotective. I'm an only child. I actually ended up having a sister much later, but I was an only child at the time. I got my skateboard, along with a very strict rule that if I ever used it, I had to wear a giant helmet, giant elbow pads, and giant knee pads. And we're not talking like sporty, giant ones, right? There's no way I could have been hurt. We grew up in a different world, basically. We grew up in a different world. Yep. Baby boomers. When you turned 18, your parents met you at the door. They were married. And they said something like, Tony, we're so proud of you. We love you, right? We love you, we're so proud of you, but you're 18 now, right? Anybody remember this one? But you're 18 now, right? So get another job, join the military, go to college, get married, just get out of here. and it's not that they don't love you, right? It's not that, it's just the way things were done. And last time I told that story, somebody got up and said that when he graduated high school, his parents gave him a set of luggage. I had no idea that was a tradition. We don't give kids sets of luggage anymore at the end of high school. Does anybody know why?
We're not going anywhere.
We don't want them to have something to come back in. Okay? So you got the talk, and 80 million baby boomers ran into the working world, the military, college, and they've been out working the rest of us ever since. And they're still today, right? But they're nearly retiring. When I turned 18, actually, when we turned 18, our experience was a little bit different. Similar to our childhood. Our parents met us at the door, and they made a special appearance because they were not married, statistically. And they said, Tony, we're so proud of you. We really love you. But you're 18 now. Millennials, you guys remember this one? But you're 18 now, and as long as you're going to college, we will help you out, right? And 80 million millennials went to college, some of us for a 7-year associate degree. And now we're here in the industry. One quick point, very quick point. The cost of college from 1980 to today, actually the number's a couple of years old, has increased by 1,130%. And this is not a key piece of the presentation, but it will help you understand this, okay? It will help you understand this. Because back in when the baby boomers went to college, you could work the summer and then pay for tuition during the school year, especially at a state school. Right? I went to Iowa State University from 2002 to 2006. That's Iowa State, not Ohio State. And during that time, tuition increased by 60% in 4 years. 4 years. So for us, it wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. So we graduated, not only as the most educated generation ever, also as the most indebted for that education. On average, something like 30,000 per person. I got a lot more than that myself. But most educated, most indebted generation ever. Okay. So record student debt, 7 years in school, plus graduating into a down economy, 2008 to 2012, when there were no jobs, except for the call center nationwide, where a lot of us started. The result, boomer and kids, the result is we have more young college graduates today living at home with mom and dad than we ever have in the history of this country. The change is massive, massive. How many boomers still have a college grad at home? Anybody? One, two, a few? Okay, hopefully they're picking up because now the economy's doing better. But that was the result. So we've had a very different life. We've had a very, very different life. Okay. So because of that very different life, we are like a different culture. Okay? There's a story in a business book, and I can't remember which one. Maybe somebody will recognize it, because I read too much and I have a bad memory. But there's a story in a business book about an American speaker getting invited to speak in Japan. I hope he was better dressed than me. And so he speaks in Japan, and after the session, his host very politely asks him how it went. And he says it was horrible. They fell asleep. And his host very politely explains that the Japanese close their eyes when they're paying attention. It's a cultural difference, right? That is what we're dealing with right now. It's a cultural difference. We communicate in a different way. That baby boomer somewhere over there who's on his phone, he might be on Facebook. He might be distracted from the meeting. He might be taking notes. There's no way to know. You can't judge him just based on the fact that he's on his phone. Now, when I speak to the younger generation, I tell them not to do that so that we can meet halfway. But keep that in mind. It's harder today to figure out if somebody's really engaged than it was 20 or 30 years ago. So we can't judge them in the same way. It just doesn't work anymore. We'll talk a lot more about that. By the way, any nationwiders? We're in Columbus, Ohio. There has to be a few. Nationwiders? Whole bunch of nationwiders? Okay, are you guys on Yammer? Yammer is Nationwide's inside social network. Previous speaker mentioned it. Please Yammer about this event and mention that Tony from Yammer was hosting it. Hopefully you liked it. Take advantage of Yammer. It's a great tool. Our generation is technology dependent, right? Now, this is no surprise. This is no surprise to most people, right? But most people think that we are tech savvy. Most of us think that we are tech savvy. We are not tech savvy. We're tech dependent. It's a big difference. Most of us have no idea how Twitter works. We just know we love it, right? And remember to exit the building that's on fire before tweeting about it. So keep that in mind. We are technology dependent, okay? We are technology dependent, and it affects things. We'll talk about it, okay? So I already talked a little bit about it for our industry. We are in the midst of a demographic crisis. 63.3% of American executives are retiring within the next 5 years. This is according to PricewaterhouseCoopers number from last year, so it's probably a little bit worse now. And if you think about it, it makes sense. The boomers, there were a lot of them, right? More than Gen Xers. A lot of the older boomers delayed retirement because the economy crashed in 08, right? And they waited until their 401ks recovered. What's the stock market doing today? It's right back to record levels. So all of those boomers that delayed retirement are now ready to retire. And they are overrepresented in our industry. Keep that in mind. So we're going to have not only those that are turning 65 now, also those that are turning 70 now, who stayed in the industry a little longer than they wanted to, or that they were planning to. Okay. Oh. The average insurance agent, and Paul mentioned this number too, is 59 years old. Average carrier person, similar. Okay, keep that in mind. We need the millennials to come work in the industry, which they are. We need them to stay, which they're not. By 2020, 15%, that's half, for those of you who are bad at math like I am, 50% of the workforce in the US will be millennials. That's only 5 years away now. 50% every other. And in insurance, I predict it'll be worse. Because right now, we're overrepresented in baby boomers who are retiring. So we will probably be closer to 60 ourselves. So think about, that's what should scare you. What should scare you is that your company is going to be 60% millennial employees. So if you are not fully engaging them, the company is in deep trouble. That's why I want to leave here scared, and I want to leave here going back to Grange and to Nationwide and to your agency or Liberty Mutual, wherever else you work with, and make sure they're paying attention to this. Have you ever found yourself thinking they have to pay their dues? You don't have to raise your hand. It's okay. It is a perfectly natural thought. I can't blame you. I can't blame you. But what I want you to understand is, again, two things. Number one, we do want to pay our dues. We might not know how. And I'll explain why we don't know how. But remember that. It might be that we just don't know how to pay our dues. And the number two, and the biggest thing I want you to remember, is that the entry-level job today in insurance is very different from what it was when you started. When you started in insurance 20, 30 years ago, the typical entry-level role was multi-lines claims in office, personal lines, maybe personal lines / farm underwriting. Or if you were really lucky, maybe you started in the allied school in Des Moines, Iowa, where they put you through insurance classes for 6 months before sending you back to your territory. Those were awesome first jobs, fantastic first jobs that really gave you an opportunity to grow, really gave you an opportunity to pay your dues, really gave you an opportunity to show what you could do, and really gave you an opportunity to fall in love with this wonderful industry at which you've stayed for 30-some years. Right? Am I about on the dot? Yeah? Okay. The typical entry-level role today at a big carrier like Nationwide, where I grew up, is a call center or a processing center. And there's nothing wrong with that job. I spent my first year at a Farm Bureau call center. Nothing wrong at all with that. It was a great job. Okay. The problem is, it's very different from what it used to be. It's very hard to get noticed in a call center, no matter how motivated you are. Right? It's very hard to have visibility to the higher levels of the industry and how incredible careers in this industry can be from the call center or from the processing center. It's very hard. Right? So what happens is, between 2008 and 2012, Nationwide and the other big carriers recruited thousands of young professionals with college degrees, with student loans, gave them a job, which was better than the alternative, and unfortunately, we haven't grown them out of there. They leave the industry. And when they leave the industry, and in their mind, from here on, insurance is a career dead end, a call center with no future. And 10 years from now, we're gonna need them. So I know we can't go back to the old way. We can't go back to multi-line claims adjusters, and we can't go back to starting the kids from college right out on the writer position. I know that we can't do that. It's too expensive. That's fine. We have to figure out ways to utilize what we have today, those call centers, those processing centers, those very entry-level roles, and help those kids get really engaged, right? Yeah, I was really lucky. I had a really good mentor, Dan Behrens, at Farm Bureau. And Dan really ingrained, in the year that I was there, really ingrained in me the beauty of the industry. Stable, decently paid, we're doing good for society. There's a lot of, it's easy to grow in if you put in the work and if you get the education, things like CPCU, CIC, etc. It's a lot of great things about the industry. I was really lucky that he told me those. And I got really excited, and I've been growing in the industry ever since. Okay? A survey, a nationwide survey, not nationwide insurance, the whole country survey, asked, are millennials loyal at work? Okay? So I want to take a quick, actually, let me first show you the answer that millennials gave. The millennials, 82% of them, said that they are loyal at work. Then we asked HR, mostly made out of baby boomers, and we asked them how loyal, what percentage of millennials are loyal at work? Any guesses? What's that? 10%. 10? Somebody else? What else? 20? 40? Okay. We have a bunch of optimists in the crowd. I like that. Actually, I think I heard somebody say 0. You're the closest anybody has ever been. So I wonder if you had read it ahead of time. HR said 1% of millennials are loyal at work. What this means is we have a giant disconnect. A giant disconnect, right? They think they're loyal. We see them as disloyal. What's going on? I want to give you the answer. I'm going to help you understand why we have this giant disconnect. Okay. But the answer is we have different definitions of loyalty. For the baby boomers, loyalty means I came, I stayed, I grew, and I got my gold watch. Right? That was loyalty. For the millennials, loyalty means I came, I worked really, really hard while I was there. This from a millennial who has had 5 jobs in 5 years in this industry. I am very loyal, if you ask me. I've worked very hard at each of those jobs. Very hard. So it's a matter of different definitions. So the question we're trying to answer is, where will our future leaders come from? That's what I want you to be thinking. Where will our future leaders for this company, for this agency, for this industry come from? Okay. Millennials are entering the workforce with more education, much less work experience, and much less life experience. So almost everybody knows the top one, right? We're the most educated generation ever. Everybody knows that. You might not know the other 2. Okay? When the baby boomers came into the workforce, chances are they were 22, 23. They might be married already. A lot of them already were. Maybe had their first kid, had a car, were planning on buying a house, and had been working since they were 14. That was very, very common. When we grew up, our parents told us to focus on extracurriculars, focus on school, and go to the best college we can go to and follow our dreams. So we didn't get a lot of work experience as we were growing up. And we're graduating at 24, 25. We're delaying marriage. We're delaying having kids. A lot of us are delaying buying a house. And the boomer and kids thing we talked about. And in the Bay Area where I'm at, a lot of us are delaying buying a car. Yeah. So you have to keep that in mind as you have a young college grad that's coming to work for you. He has a lot less experience than you had back when you started. And I had a survey for this one, but I don't want to waste time resetting it up. At what age do you think you become an adult? A couple of guesses. 25?
21. 30.
21, 30. Okay, so the options on the survey are 18, 21, 25, and 30. Generally, the results come pretty heavy on 18 and 21. Okay? When this survey was done nationally, the millennials answered that they think they become an adult at age 30. Right? Age 30. So let's kind of connect the dots. Right? So I'm going to connect the dots for you. They have less life experience, less work experience, more education, but they're more in debt. Okay? They're not married yet. They're not married yet. They might own a car. They probably don't own a house. They're kids. And if you're getting them out of college at 22 or 23, they don't even think of themselves as adults for another 8 years. So we have to kind of balance for that. We have to keep that in mind. Oh, give it away. So same survey asked, how long are you at a job before you consider yourself to have been there long term? Again, normally I do the survey. Results generally come in at the 5-year, 3-year mark, 7 years. Right? Seems about right? The millennials respond 11 months. 11 months. Presenting to you today is a 32-year-old millennial with no kids, not married. Actually, I have a company car now, so I don't own a car either. Not a homeowner. I do think of myself as an adult now. But my resume does reflect this average. I've changed jobs every year for 5 years, in July, every year. I didn't plan it that way. I started at a call center. It was the only way to get to the funner parts of the industry and get the experience that I need. Right? It's not that I didn't want to stay. I just had to. So anyway, I've sworn allegiance. I've sworn 3-year commitment to my current position. I've been there for 8 months, 3 years. Right? It's on camera. 3 years, which is for a millennial a very, very, very long-term commitment. Okay. So now we're getting to the meat of what we want to talk about, right? What is it that millennials want? And the solutions to this whole mess that I have now hopefully drawn pretty well for you. Okay. So what is it that the millennials look for at work? According to McKinsey, who did this research for the Institute and for the Griffin Foundation, they look for challenging work. This is a big audience participation part. Do we have challenging work in the insurance industry? Yes. Okay, so we got that one. They look for a place where they can make a positive impact on the world. A place that's not just about profits. Do we make a positive impact in the world in the insurance industry? Yes. Okay, that's 2 out of 2. I don't like this thing. We look for a place that gives us space to grow our career. Can you grow in insurance? People who have been here for 30 years. Yes. They also, so we're 100%, 3 out of 3. They also look for a flexible schedule. Do we have this in the industry? Kind of, right? I'm a field rep, I have a flexible schedule. And you have to pay your dues first. Right? I know many people who have flexible schedules. You have to pay your dues first. That's fine. But if that is really your goal, if what you want to do career-wise is make your own schedule, we have it. It's just you have to pay your dues first. Is that fair? Okay, so we have that one. And they look to work with the latest technology. Do we have that in the industry? Okay. So it's okay, we don't have that one, we're working on it, right? Most companies are transitioning to better systems, we're transitioning to better technology. But the point, what I really want you to remember is, when we survey the millennials, they say, no, we're not interested in insurance. But when we ask them what the things they're looking for, we have them. We have most of them. And we're working on the others. In other words, this is a place where millennials want to work at. So we got the winning hand, okay? We need to make sure they know it. And right now they don't. So when you go back to the office, reach out to those millennials. Help them understand that this is the kind of place they want to work at. Help them understand that when you retire in a few years, there will be great opportunity for them to grow in the industry. But they need to pay their dues now. They need to learn what you've learned the last 30 years. Okay. The delivery in the bottom, I don't think you guys can read it in the back, but it shows a millennial asking Dilbert if he has been very productive working on the grandpa box. And Dilbert says, what's a grandpa box? And the millennial says, well, my generation, we do our work on our phones and tablets. And I actually caught the last part of the strip. Dilbert said, I do have a laptop. And the millennial answered, welcome to 1990. So, we have about 20 minutes left. I will walk you through the solutions to the issue. And here's my promise. Most of the solutions, or almost all of them, are free or very low cost. Okay? So there's really no reason why we can't implement a lot of them. Okay? So, solutions. The first day at work is crucial. Right? There's a really good book. I always mention it because half my presentation comes from his material. His name is Jason Dorsey, and his book is called Why Size Your Business. Letter Y, Size Your Business. The book, the first half explains why you should go ahead and change some things for the millennials, and makes a business case for it. And the second half explains the things you should do. Most of my solutions come from there. I just apply them for the industry. So the first day is crucial. The first day to retain a millennial, to engage him, to get him excited about his job. The first day, you should bring him in. You should have his computer ready, software ready to go. You should come with a box of business cards. Okay? And a lot of us starting today out of college, we never got business cards, right? Because we never saw a customer. So you should have a box of business cards. I'll have to give them that. And when you hand them to them at the door and you say, "Welcome, we're so excited to have you." What this means is that, thank you, is that from here on, you represent us with everything you do. We represent you. You are now part of the Nationwide family, of the Liberty Mutual family, of this agency's family. Okay? And they might never, especially if they're in a processing center or in a customer service center, they might never hand one of those cards out. But they will hand one out. Anybody? Their mom, exactly. And for about 30% of us, it'll be when she picks us up after work. That silly business card means, somebody said it's so true, I like that. That silly business card, by the way, for a big carrier, 500 business cards cost you like $17. It costs you nothing. That silly business card means that those 7 years he spent in college, those $40,000 of student loans, all those extracurricular activities during high school, led him to a career, not a job. And we want to start that day one. Then take him to see an executive, doesn't matter who, and have the executive say something like, "Tony, we are so excited to have you here." You do the first day right, you got him for probably the first year. you have him fill out HR paperwork on day one and do our usual telling him not to harass people and really boring legalistic day one, and his computer's not ready and it's just a general chaos. With an economy like we have today, where it's easy to get a new job for a new college grad, they might not come back after lunch. Big difference. And it doesn't cost you anything, right? It doesn't cost us any money to do day one right. So next solution, we need a clear and objective evaluation system. I know that you personally don't have control over your company's corporate evaluation system. I know that. Okay? Eventually we're going to have to change it. But for now, all I'm asking is that you give them true, honest feedback, that you do it often, you let them know that they're doing well. If they're only hearing feedback once a year, by the time we get to the end of year one, we've lost them, right? This is a generation that grew up playing video games. The reason video games are so addictive is because they give you constant feedback as to the things you do well and the things you do wrong. By giving constant feedback, we help them grow in the industry. The evaluation system should be clear and objective. We should be telling them from day one, this is what we look for. If you can hit those numbers, if you go and get your AIC, we might give you an opportunity someday to be a field claims rep. If you get your CPCU, we might give you an opportunity someday to become a manager. They don't know it. And from the call center level, it's very hard to figure out by yourself. Okay. Oh, I jumped out of myself. So honest and constant feedback. I apologize that the image is very positive. It doesn't have to be positive. Constructive feedback is fine. but we do have to give constant, and by constant I mean weekly. And it doesn't have to be a big production, it doesn't have to be half an hour. A quick stop at their desk, 5 minutes, to honestly say, you're doing this well, I would like to see you doing this, and if you do this, you'll be great in this company. This is what gets rewarded in your company. Huge difference, huge, huge, huge difference. There's a story. I gave this presentation at Nationwide in Sacramento, and one of the directors, a female who's been in the industry for a long time, she had to fight her way, right, to make it as a female. She's had a great career. She gave some constructive feedback to one of her young female associates, and the associate broke down and cried. So the director came back to me and gave me an earful about my recommendation. So there is another side to it. We do have to help teach them how to take feedback, because a lot of millennials have never had real feedback. You know, we got a trophy for showing up. We have never had real feedback, okay? There's a book called Thank You for the Feedback. Excellent book, teaches you that feedback is a gift, how to give it, how to receive it. I would be giving this book out in orientation and tell them, you're gonna get constant feedback sometimes, it'll be constructive. We want you to be prepared to receive it as the gift that it is to help you grow and not to be offended by it. So, thank you for the feedback. We need to move from tasks to challenges, okay? If we give a millennial a job that is measured on the number of tasks he gets done in whatever system we measure them, they're gonna become disengaged very, very, very quickly. They went to college, they have an education, they're gonna get disengaged really, really quickly. The key is, I've been asking myself for years, how come Google and Facebook are able to bring millennials in, have them work all-nighters for them, bleed for the company? How come we can't do that? A few years ago, I thought that it was a matter of money. They pay better. After talking to many, many millennials, I'm convinced it is not a matter of money. It's a matter of challenge. They come into Facebook and Facebook and Google challenges them to change the world. Help us change the world. If you bring your millennials in and you tell them, we want you to help us change the insurance industry. We want you to help us bring the insurance industry into the 21st century. And right now you don't have the experience, but we are going to invest in you so that you can get that experience. I was very happy to spend a year in the Farm Bureau call center, because from the beginning they told me that I had a future in the company, that I had a future in the industry. They told me how to do it. They said, go get AIC and go get AIS. And after a year or two, we'll get you out of here and give you a better role. Go get CBCU. And it worked. It worked. I fell in love with the industry. Ask for their opinion. We grew up with our parents, our coaches, our teachers, our counselors, etc., always asking for our opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to follow it. Asking for it is huge. Just ask us for our opinion on changes that are coming. Ask us for our opinion on what we're seeing coming down the pipe in the industry. You don't have to follow what we say, but asking goes a very, very long way. This one is the biggest point of the whole entire presentation. If you do this one, you can retire. I give you permission to retire back. Become a mentor. Go back to the office, find a promising young insurance professional. The lower in the company, the better. Dig into the processing center, dig into the call center. Find one that you think has potential and become their mentor. It'll make a huge, 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 huge difference. If we look at the list of the top 30 companies based on service for millennials to work at, the number one thing they have in common is all of them have formal mentoring programs. Some of them pay very well, some of them don't, like Teach for America. They all have formal mentoring programs. Mentoring goes a huge, long way with your millennials. So become a mentor. Help them see the possible career paths. This is big. It's hard for us, especially from the lower levels of the industry, to figure out how you got to your vice president role. We know we want to be there, but we don't We don't have a copy of your resume to see how you got there. Make it explicit by telling us the possible paths. If possible, have them on the company intranet, the possible paths of careers in the company. And this was kind of an interesting point. Update your LinkedIn. Show your entire career history on LinkedIn, from the day you started in insurance. Because what we do by nature is when there is somebody that we admire and we want to be them in the future. I was telling Mike Holm that the reason I do everything I do is because I want to be Mike Holm someday. What we do is we go to Mike Holm's LinkedIn and we look for how he did it. And then we try to model it from there. So update your LinkedIn to show your entire career path, and you'll be helping us grow in the industry. Assume good intentions and lack of experience. Again, big thing to take home. We come with a lot less experience than you did, right? That new college grad, when you came your first day to work in a professional company, you probably had years of experience working at McDonald's, working your way up. He might not. So assume that it's a matter of lack of experience and that there's good intent. There's a story that I really like from that same book, Why Size Your Business. A small business owner has a position open and he's interviewing, and the interviewee shows up late, dressed like a clown. Not literally a clown, but not dressed for an interview. And so the business owner says, it's clear that you're not interested in this job. You know what, let's go ahead and just go home. It's clear that you don't want this job. And the interviewee says, oh, I'm so sorry, I really want the job. I had to take two buses to get here, and that's why I'm late. I didn't know how long it's going to take. And the business owner says, okay, come back tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp, dressed in a suit, shake my hand, look me in the eyes, have good rapport while I interview, and I'll give you the job. Came back the next day, did it, got the job, was a good employee. Moral of the story is even if you think it's obvious, because for you when you were his age it was obvious, tell him. He might not have had that advice yet. Okay? McKinsey, one of the world's top consulting firms, it's harder to get into than Harvard. McKinsey has a website for MBA graduates who are interviewing with them, telling them how to dress for the interview, telling them the type of questions that they're going to get asked, telling them the type of answers they're looking for. McKinsey has figured out that your best people might not be that obvious from the beginning. And if you give them the right advice, you give them a much better chance of coming along. Because of the way we work, because of our dependence on technology, because of the way we were raised, it might not be very obvious. The kid who's showing up with the wrong clothing, the kid who's never at his desk, I can spend 8 hours on my desk and spend the whole 8 hours on Facebook. Or I could be at the Starbucks, not very visible, and being very productive. So you can't measure productivity based on time on desk. You can't measure it based on how much time I spent at the office, based on how I dress. We have to measure based on results. Otherwise, you're going to miss some of your really good people. Finally, tell them about CPCU, tell them about CIC, tell them about the great opportunities to grow in the industry, tell them about Toastmasters. If a kid goes and gets CPCU, I know it from experience, I know thousands of CPCUs. CPCUs don't leave the industry. They might leave the company. They don't leave the industry because they become more valuable in the industry than outside of the industry. So if you get them excited early on, you get them on the path to get CPCU, you're probably going to keep them. But also make good enough not acceptable. It goes to the same challenges thing we talked about earlier. Make it clear from day one that we expect excellence from you. We expect you to be a future thought leader in this industry. Give them a big challenge. and let's see who actually comes through. Okay, so I'm open for questions. I think I have a couple of minutes left. Let's keep the conversation going. If anybody wants to talk specifically about their company and the things that they're doing, more than happy to do that. Check out my blog, insnerds.com. I spend a lot of time talking about the millennials, talking about what's coming in the industry, and a lot of articles for the millennials on how to grow. So give it to the kids. You know, when you go back to the office, give it to your younger employees. We'll try to guide them in the right path to grow with the industry. So, and my own personal website, TonyCanas.com. So, questions? The industry doesn't have time to wait for the millennials to pay their dues. Can they start earlier? Internships, college, super important, yes. And there's programs like My Path. There's programs like Invest, in order to get high school kids and college kids excited about insurance. And there's internships. Those are huge, 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 huge. I agree with that. But it'll take a few years before they produce results. For now, we have to grow the people that we have. But yes, the internship is a super important way to bring students into the industry. I always get this one. Why isn't more attention being given to the Gen Xers? Are we not the glue that provide consistency in the industry between boomers and millennials? As always, my apology to the boomers. I don't spend too much time talking about you guys because I'm not an expert on boomers. You have always gotten the short end of the stick by being in between two much larger generations. You are the glue that holds it together. And in the next few years, you are the ones that are going to have to deal with leading our industry as the boomers retire. Unfortunately, not much I can say on that one. It always comes up because, yeah, no question that you're the glue that holds the industry together. Any further questions?
All done with Tony? Okay, he wore his Superman shirt because he has to run like the wind back to the airport. Catch a flight.